Global Fund for the East and Southern Africa, ISA, Dr. Susan Muchachi, ISA board member, Dr. Charles Masambo, ISA alternate board member, Miss Margaret Mundia, ISA CFP. For the Central and West Africa, Dr. Jean-Jacques Mongani, your Hamburg speaker today, for the first part, WCA board member, Dr. Magda Robato, WCA alternate board member, and Dr. Pepe Kilimalima, WCA CFP. Okay, the next. The Africa you probably don't know very well, we are sure. Maybe you have some information about our continent, but let us inform you better with image and illustration. Have you heard about these big five? Do you know them? Could you name them? Somebody can respond? You know? Do you know the big five? Yes. Somebody can respond? Maybe, Eddie Rose, try.
Yes. First of all, what are they?
You can't big, first the big five.
Elephant.
Oh, there's animals.
Yes.
Oh.
I also think it's countries.
So elephant is that?
Lion, elephant, buffalo, rhino, and African
leopard.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Countries?
And the countries, can you name? Name countries in Africa where you can find them.
South Africa, Namibia,
Yes.
Botswana, Tanzania,
Kenya,
Rwanda, Kenya,
Zimbabwe.
Zim,
Forgotten about Malawi as well.
Malawi.
Yeah.
DRC also.
DRC.
Sorry.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
Okay.
The next. Which country was named Nyasaland before 1953?
Wow.
I give you a suggestion.
Okay.
The current country's name means flames. The country was also named after its bigger lake, which is one of the largest and deepest on the planet. Do you know this country?
And it was Uganda.
No, not Uganda. Somebody can try?
Malawi.
Malawi. Malawi. Dr. Shah comes from Malawi. The next. In the African country, in this African country, there are more than 300 local languages. One of our dances is listed in the Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity of UNESCO. Only country in the world which is full for exceptional animal called okapi. Do you know this country? No. This is
The presentation is to recorded once, yeah.
What is this country? Only a country in the world which is full of exceptional animal called okapi. Do you know this country? Somebody can try?
Kenya.
Not Nigeria.
Kenya.
One of our dances is listed in the Intangible Cultural Heritage DRC. That's right.
The biggest country.
I'm coming from DRC.
But I beat you for languages. We have 800.
800.
The next. My name means the country of upright men. Who am I? We are so proud of our traditional material dauphin. Sometimes they call it faso dauphin. Cloth. It's one of the West African textiles. Do you know this country? You can try? Burkina Faso. That's right. A small country with 88 islands in a big and good fruit diversity. Bijagos, one of my islands, is known from its marine turtles. What am I?
Mauritius or Madagascar?
No.
Seychelles,
No.
Cabo Verde,
Zanzibar.
Mayotte?
Think about one of the members of ACB.
Comoros.
Guinea-Bissau.
Of course, my
88 islands.
That's right. Now I'll give the floor to my brother Charles Monsambo, the Vice Chair of ACB, to continue the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, JJ, for that presentation. Nicely handled. And I'm glad that many of you know about Africa. And what I'm wearing now is, since I represent East and Southern Africa, I thought I should bring something from one of the tribes there, the Zulus. In Malawi, called them the Ngonis. They started off in South Africa, moved out into Tanzania, and then back. So that's why I'm dressed like this. So quickly talk about the contest. Africa is the most burdened continent, and if you talk about HIV, it's about 70%, 24% TB, and over 95% of the malaria that we see. And also talking about the actual funding from the Global Fund, the investment is about 73% of the resources that are used to fight HIV, TB, and malaria go to Africa. Talking about the conditions themselves, in 2020, almost every day, we had 4,000 new HIV infections, and about 60% of these were in sub-Saharan Africa. And adolescent girls and young women between 15 and 24 bear the burden. In fact, 25% of all the infections, despite representing only 10% of the population. And if you're looking at people on treatment in West and Central Africa, more than half of pregnant women actually don't have access to treatment. And talking about TB, 17 of the 30 TB high burden countries are in our part of the world. And unfortunately, 44% of the cases were undiagnosed and not reported. And talking about drug-resistant TB, only 1 in 3 patients are actually accessing treatment at present. And unfortunately, only 22% of the current resources come from domestic resources. Talking about malaria, in fact, most of the burden is in Africa. 95% of the cases and 96% of the deaths are concentrated in sub-Saharan Africa. And unfortunately, about most of these are happening in children under 5. And if you look at the global numbers, we contribute about 95% of the increase in the cases between 2019 and 2020. So talking about the countries, these are the countries. Ngani and Magda represent about 24 countries, and me and Susan represent about 22 countries on the continent. And then we are actually represented in the various government committees of the Global Fund. And I'll talk briefly about the Africa Constituency Bureau, which we've referred to earlier. It brings together these 2 constituents I already talked about, and as I say, we are representing the Global Fund governance bodies. It was initially felt that our representation at the Global Fund was suboptimal. That's why in 2022, a decision was made by the African Union to establish the Bureau, and it was officially launched in Addis Ababa on the 1st of March 2017. And this basically was to help with our engagement and representation and participation of the African constituencies in the Global Fund processes, and also enhance the capacity of the African constituencies to influence and share the Global Fund procedures and processes. Among the policy issues we are requested to highlight, I just bring in a few here, on the priority issues. First is the development and implementation of a people-centered and integrated and resilient health systems for health. We're also looking at sustainable financing, more money for health and more health for the money. And we are also, as a region, pushing for the agenda of local manufacturing. The products have to be manufactured very close to where they're being used. It comes in as a net gen market sharing agenda on the global agenda. And also, we make sure that we improve the grant performance, especially for those areas that were identified with some shortfalls. Continue the priorities. We've also been discussing the idea of people in challenging operating environments. There have been some policies that have affected some members of the region, and unfortunately some of them have been in this situation for the last, I don't know how many years. So we're pushing the agenda that their procedures should be audited and considered to be moved out of that current situation. And of course, we've heard a lot about issues around gender equality and human rights and equity. I mean, there's quite a lot of issues around human rights, which as a region, we need to do a lot about and reach out on that. And of course, we're also encouraging country ownership and accountability of the various partnerships that we have in the region. And this has been, we're discussing it among the ING this morning, but we also want one unified African voice when it comes to issues, because our problems are similar. So the more we put together those voices, the stronger our case. Talking about our current partners, we've got quite a number, as you can see from this slide. You'll be pleased to hear that this is my last slide. And there's of course the fund, World Health Organization, African Union, the United Nations, AIDS Fund, policy think tank, civil society, and robot malaria. And of course there's Stop TB and the African CDC. We're also currently housing our offices in Addis Ababa. Among the funders we've had so far, we've had the Bill and Melinda Gates, the Expertise Funds, the Initiative, the FCDO, the Global Fund, and also GIZ. And we thank you very much for the support you've given us in raising the voice of Africa at the Global Fund. Thank you very much. I stop there for now.
Thank you so much.
Oh, by the way, the only thing that is missing is actual spear. So next time I'll bring the spear, but because of the travel restrictions, I couldn't bring it with me.
We have to come to you.
You have to come to me. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. This was a really good presentation, and it was clear that there's some information I did not know.